Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto had muted emotions and became a seal's master? Please like, share and subscribe for more. Also check the other fics I have uploaded. Now let's start. 12:05 a.m. Tazuna's unnamed bridge. Hatake Kakashi, the demon of the mist spoke, blatant edge to his voice. Where is Haku? Zabuza-kun. She is safe and now under the protection of Konoha for the duration of our negotiation. Bad way to start, not bringing her. Couldn't risk you getting rambunctious before we've spoken. She's a valuable tool, but not that valuable and won't stop me from killing you, Hatake. What do you want? I want to know why two professionals such as ourselves are getting played by some small-town crook and alcoholic bridge builder. 3:10 p.m., 6 hours and 50 minutes before meet with Zabuza, Tazuna's house, kitchen. Team 7 sat around Tsunami's kitchen table, Kakashi at the head, Naruto on one side while Sakura was on the other. Sasuke sat at the opposite end facing Kakashi. We've got some time before I meet Zabuza and I wanted to have a brief team meeting. If you have any questions or concerns, voice them now. If we have his partner, why just attack him since he's the threat? All four of us could take him, Kakashi. Sasuke observed. Why don't one of you tell me? True, we could likely take Zabuza. I'm confident I could defeat him myself, though it'd be difficult. However, not enough to deter me should it need to happen, so why take this option? What do you think, Sakura? We don't have enough information, she asked back. Yes, that is true. While I am fairly sure Haku was the last of Zabuza's support, the pair are not the totality of Gato's forces. We don't know how many there are, where they are stationed or what they comprise of. Are they just thugs? Former samurai? This is important, but as a ninja you often don't have perfect information and waiting for the time you do can cause your mission to fail. Risk is inherent in this line of work, it can only be minimized so much. Naruto, what do you think? We have a four-party conflict presenting itself as a two-party conflict. And who would the four interested parties be? Nominally, Tazuna and Gato. But you and Zabuza would be the two hidden ones. Exactly. It is easy to think of this as us, representing Tazuna, versus Zabuza, who represents Gato. But Zabuza's loyalty is only to the extent of his pay, and I not only have to try to complete the mission, but do so in such a way that doesn't harm Konoha's short or long-term interests either. Namely protecting you three. This means Zabuza could be useful if I play this right. Tazuna's bridge, 12:07 a.m. What are you playing at, Kakashi? Zabuza growled. I'm sure Gato told you why he needed the bridge builder clipped. Yes, it threatens his business. This massive, bicoastal bridge. The one thing that could harm his business, and it somehow manages to build to near completion before he stops it? Either he's incompetent or dash. He's lying. Yup. The bridge is the last hope of the residents, they believe it will free them, but if Gato has the muscle to claim an island he can manage a bridge. You killing Tazuna more or less after he finishes breaks the will of the people. Come on now, how did Tazuna's drunken self get out of Nami under a shipping magnate and smuggler's watch? Maybe he thinks I'll kill you. Tazuna finishes the bridge and the people cheer, only to be further oppressed. On the other hand, you kill me and he lays all of this at your feet. A third option is we either kill or exhaust each other, dash. And he comes and cleans us up. It's an interesting theory, but that rat wouldn't cross me. Betrayal works best that way. 3:45 p.m. nearing Nami's daimyo mansion. Gato had not been enthused by his talk with Zabuza. The man dared to think he could set the timetable and completely disregard what he, Gato, thought. When he was cutting the checks. When he was the one in control. It made his blood boil, the arrogance of that musclehead. Little better than a beast of burden and thought he could speak down to an accomplished businessman. Gato would continue to rant and rave until he was suddenly and most unpleasantly interrupted. Before he could make sense of anything, Gato found himself on his back looking toward the sky. Then he was yanked up, as if he weighed nothing. Gato finally put eyes on the person that dared to manhandle him. A boy, teen really, brown hair and black eyes. Taller than Gato, but not by much, and wore a yellow shirt and blue pants. The boy seemed panicked. Oh, geez. I'm sorry about that, oh geez. You see what you did? A taller, older, and balding man in a white robe and brown pants said. I let you pick, you say you get to pick every 10th time and you see. This is why you can't be in control, you run into people and get us into all kinds of shit. Why you've been riding my ass since we left, you haven't even given this a chance, the teen said before slapping at the older man. You wanna go? We can go, the man said as he started tussling with the boy in earnest. Waraji and Zori eventually put a stop to it and tell the, Gato assumed, grandfather and grandson pair on their way. Gato continued on to his mansion even more annoyed than he was. The grandfather and grandson had slinked off to an alley and was soon joined by a third party. Did you do it? Spiral 1 asked. Hi, said Spiral 2 with Spiral 3 nodding. The first clone shunshined away to continue his job of surveilling Gato. The second clone activated his communication seal. Spiral 2 to Cherry Bomb, do you copy? This is Cherry Bomb, Spiral 2, I copy. I tagged Gato and his 2 guards. Channel 2, 3, and 4, respectively. Over. I'll switch now. Over. Continuing surveillance, Spiral 3, and I will take the muscle should they leave. Over and out. As Sakura remained vigilant listening to any salient information, Sasuke and Kakashi were resting. The day would be long and rest was a premium, especially if Kakashi was going to need to use his Sharingan. A clone of Naruto's was helping Tsunami around the house, as a guest should. The original was sitting in a spare bedroom holding a snow rabbit observing Haku. She was clearly in pain, but she would confess her physical pain barely merited a mention compared to her emotional distress. She looked broken, utterly broken. Kill me, she whispered. I have no value to you, I am simply a broken tool, so I also have no value to Zabuza-sama. When she heard the boy walk toward her, a traitorous part of her flinched, a pesky will to survive that was unbefitting a tool and a betrayer. She forced herself to relax, to the best of her abilities, as her back was incredibly sore. She heard the boy move deliberately, she didn't bother to make eye contact as she just wanted it over. Closer and closer he walked, until she could feel his body heat. He moved his hand to her right arm and pinched her, hard. Ow, she exclaimed as he sat back down. Why did you do that? I've never, not once, heard a kunai shout in pain. We've established you are not a tool and as such, killing you because you are broken is a fundamentally flawed argument. You're wrong, that's exactly what I am. I have no more purpose, I have no reason to live. What purpose was so significant that to fail it means you should die? Naruto decided to ignore the tool talk, she seemed committed to it. For the first time Haku made contact with the boy. To protect the person that saved me, my sole precious person. Zabuza isn't dead. I've still put him at risk, I've failed in my duty. What greater shame is there? I've never felt ashamed before, but I've seen it. My Aji-san had to explain it to me. He has to explain a lot of that stuff to me. Anyway, I remind my villagers of a tragic day. They ostracize me because of it and have for as long as I can remember. For most of my life they looked at me in fear and apprehension. It changed in the last 2 years and I didn't understand it, hence asking my Aji-san. Most people would likely rank mistreating a child as one of the worst things you can do, and yet my villagers did that. However, their reason started to falter and it created cognitive dissonance. If they didn't find a way to stay angry at me, they may have to acknowledge me as what I truly am and then acknowledge what their actions make them. Haku was so absorbed in her story that she forgot about her own shame for a moment. Do you hate them? No. They are trapped and can't face themselves. If I were what they said I was, but changed, they'd likely accept me more as it would have proven them right. But, they can't redeem me, because I don't need it. They want to rid themselves of the burdens they carry, but the process scares them. I think, objectively, that's sad, though I don't feel sad for them. Why would you tell me this? Because shame is an acknowledgement that, for whatever reason, you failed at something and failed yourself. But failure is rarely the end of things. My best friend once called me a proud failure because I never let setbacks stop me from trying. This is different. Maybe. But even still, your precious person is still alive and there is more than one way to protect someone. Haku was starting to get annoyed at the emotionless boy. Well, my way is to assure Zabuza-sama can achieve his ambition, but if he has to rescue me, I'm only in the way. What's his ambition? To overthrow Yugura, the Mizukage. The man that started the bloodline purges, the man that made people fear those with bloodlines, the one that. He's a monster and Zabuza-sama wants to usurp him, but that takes resources. It's only the two of you? Yes, if the demon brothers are gone. You can't fight a rebellion with two people. We'd raise an army. Oh, so he has contacts in Kiri? Not that I'm aware of. All the people he had died against Yugura, except the demon brothers. So, he takes missions with the intent to return to Kiri, raise an army of people with little connection to him and kill a sitting Kage? Yes, she said heatedly, not likely this boy criticizing Zabuza. Sounds like you aren't the only one ashamed. Haku went wide-eyed at the boy's pronouncement. She dedicated herself to protecting Zabuza-sama, ensuring he'd eventually return to Kiri and save it. But if he truly was forestalling his return, then she'd failed entirely. She really was useless. What's your bunny's name? What? Why couldn't he let her break down in peace? Your bunny, what is his name? Chappie. Do you think Zabuza needs the same kind of protection Chappie does? Are you mocking me? Not intentionally, no. Naruto said looking at Haku unblinkingly. What is your point? In Konoha we believe in the will of fire, the idea that everyone in the village is family and everyone looks after everyone else. That didn't seem to apply to you. You can't judge a method by a single outcome, Haku-san. When Aji-san was telling me what a Hokage did, he said he had the ultimate job of protecting Konoha and passing on the will of fire. I was confused for a while after that talk. He sits in the office most days, how is he protecting anything? Eventually, I realized there are three types of protection: taking someone's burden, sharing someone's burden, and preparing them to face their burdens. Aji-san could do the first one for major threats, but mostly did the latter too. Including allowing an orphan to not think he'd always be an outsider, unable to understand those around him. And which one does Zabuza-sama need? I couldn't possibly know, I don't know him. But it'd take more than a tool to figure it out. Naruto sat Chappie down and unsealed a jar from his mass storage seal. This ointment is a pain reliever. If you have trouble putting it on, let me know and I can help. Hentai! Haku yelled and Naruto looked confused. I'd only see your lower back. Are lower backs titillating? Can you have a lower back fetish? I'll have to ask Oj-san about that. He really wasn't specific. Naruto said, mostly to himself as Haku watched on in disbelief. The boy was odd. Anyway, I'm training in the medical arts, so this would be a form of treatment, not an attempt to ogle you. I'm fine, boys your age get ideas. You're the one talking about lower back fetishes. Naruto said in confusion. He grew even more confused when the kunoichi laughed as he exited. Haku opened the jar of medicinal cream and rubbed on her back with great effort, but she bore it all the same. Within minutes, the cream had taken effect and she felt good enough to move to the bed. She picked up her faithful companion and thought deeply by the perplexing blonde's words. Had she been mistaken about what Zabuza-sama truly needed? Did he need more than a tool? If so, what was it and how could she become it? She'd circle around these thoughts until she drifted off. 12:10 a.m., Tazuna's Bridge. You still haven't told me what you want, Kakashi. To procure your services. It shouldn't be too hard to make Gato disappear. Then you can take what he was going to pay you and be on your merry way. Back out of a contract? Just because I'm a missing ninja doesn't mean I have no honor. Besides, your bingo book bounty would be a nice bonus. Ma, that assumes you'd be alive to claim it. Do you really want Gato's men to kill you because you exhausted yourself fighting me? Unless, that's exactly what you want. 3:57 p.m. Gato's hideout / Nami's daimyo mansion. Waraji, Zori, how would you characterize our men? Gato asked. Fodder, mostly, Zori spoke. I'd estimate 10 are solid but still a cut below us, why? Waraji asked. I don't trust Zabuza can get to the bridge builder. He was supposed to be on the lookout for that drunk pest's return, but somehow the man managed to get back and Zabuza didn't even know. And he was alone today. What happened to the other 3 members? Dead, most likely. Or captured, Zabuza did say he would meet the other ninja on the bridge. Waraji answered. If they are captured, he's compromised and may turn on me. And with the attention of a ninja village, we're going to need to go underground, but not before I extract my pound of flesh. What are you planning, boss? Zori asked. I want you to get the men ready, have most go to the bridge. Tell them to handle the ninja and blow the bridge. Have our best go to Tezuna's. Kill him, kills his family. And what about us? Waraji questioned. As soon as they move out, we're going to get on my ship and get out of here. I hate to lose territory, but I've broken Nami once, I can break it again. The two bodyguards left the mansion, each going to a separate complex, where Gato stored his men. Neither realized they had a tail. Back at Tezuna's, Sakura informed Kakashi of the developments, and he hummed in satisfaction. Kakashi thought he'd need to spur Gato on to betray Zabuza, but it appeared the man was rather distrusting and cowardly. He could make use of this, but he had no intention of fighting an army of bandits. He could do it, but putting forth that much effort wasn't cool. Besides, he had Chibi here and he was confident the blonde could come up with something. Sakura, get the real Naruto and have him come here. Oh, great, more ways to avoid fighting. Sasuke scoffed. You say something, Sasuke-chan? The Uchiha bristled. We aren't going to get stronger if we don't challenge ourselves, Kakashi. And by challenge you mean open combat with an unknown number of enemies? No physical descriptions? Not even a word on their locations yet? We could take them. Possibly. But could we do it and avoid innocent bystanders? Do we know if they have hostages? Have they rigged their barracks to blow? Your challenges will come, Sasuke. The Uchiha scowled. He hated how useless he's felt this entire mission. Intellectually he can attest to Kakashi's approach, but it is one that leaves him with little to do. He can't get real experience if he doesn't fight, he certainly can't awaken his Sharingan. As Sasuke was getting lost in his thoughts, Naruto walked in. You wanted to see me, Hataki-sensei? Yes, I need to ask you something, but first, did Sakura fill you in on what Gato plans to do? The boy nodded. Good, good. Is there a way to tag each of Gato's men, without them knowing it, so we can activate it once they get to the bridge? Naruto thought about this, and then squinted. You would like me to create a seal that implants other seals on people without their knowledge? Maybe put it in the main exits, like a barrier that doesn't impede them but can chakra write a seal in thin air? Kakashi sweat dropped at the summation. He guessed it did sound ridiculous once laid out. A trap seal would be fine, except there was a chance they'd miss some of them and he wanted to avoid that if possible. Did you hear me, Hataki-sensei? I'm sorry, lost to my thoughts, what did you say? I said it might take an hour if I don't rush it. Wait, you can actually do this? Naruto looked at him blankly. I outlined the elements, sensei. A barrier, placed on the exits, that can chakra right. Well, it'd be more like a replicator array. A cloaking layer, so it goes unseen. Multiple triggers, maybe pressure, and body heat? At the bare minimum, what must the effect be, sensei? I just need something that won't allow them to flee or attack. Yes, I believe I can accomplish this. I'll be outside if you need me. Sasuke watched the interaction but didn't get the significance of what he'd heard. It was only Kakashi's question that clued Sasuke in that Naruto may have done something impressive. He knew his teammate used fuinjutsu, a rare skill set, but because it was so rare it was hard to gauge when something was truly a demonstration of skill or if it just looked that way to the ignorant. Kakashi, how good is Naruto at fuinjutsu? Kakashi formed a nice smile. You'll have to ask him yourself. HN. Elsewhere, a small boy watched as Naruto settled onto the dock of the pond near Tezuna's. The boy had been experienced a whirlwind of emotions when his grandfather informed him he was leaving to purchase the aid of real-life ninja. Inari hadn't held out much hope, he hadn't felt hope in years. His hero died and no one lifted a hand. To his small mind that must have meant Gato was simply too powerful, his father had tried to do the impossible. What were a few ninja going to do that an entire village couldn't? He'd held firm on that belief even when the ninja arrived. They didn't look that impressive, most of them weren't much older than him. What were some kids going to do? What could they do? He started to feel angry at them for giving his mother and grandfather false hope, at the adults for believing in some weirdo Cyclops and his children. But he wouldn't explode, not yet. They'd show themselves to be inadequate and he'd tell his grandfather it was always a bad idea. But then, something amazing happened. Inari watched as one of the kids, the blonde, made copies of himself. Copies that could walk and talk and think all on their own. Then he watched the blondes paint these weird symbols outside of the house and then made it emit a glow. The blonde made another painting, on paper, and then had the entire family place their thumbs on the symbol. Inari felt something pass over him. It was cold and hot at the same time. Once that was done, the boy explained they were now safe, that no one but the family and his team could come in without being allowed to. Inari saw something he hadn't seen in years. His mother relaxed. As if years of tension had melted away, the blonde assured his mother she was safe and she believed him. And as much as he hated it, Inari believed him, too. He then watched as the team had ways of communicating without actually speaking and could transform to look and sound just like his grandpa. They even caught an enemy ninja. Overthrowing Gato didn't seem so impossible now. Hope battled the tragedy-induced pessimism Inari had wrapped himself up in since his father's death. He stopped believing in heroes, but his young mind couldn't discount what he'd seen. It was magic as far as he was concerned. Real-life magic. He wanted to talk to the fellow boy, to understand how he was strong and unafraid of Gato. He wanted to know a great many things, but he decided to wait and watch. They hadn't truly saved his grandfather yet. Naruto knew he had watchers, but worked diligently. His self-imposed deadline was fast approaching and he didn't want any unnecessary delays. The seal, as he told Hatake-sensei, would at its most basic be a barrier. A simple one that could allow passage if the creator so chose. Naruto then added various arrays to the barrier level, not only the tag that would be applied to Gato's men but the replicator and discharge arrays that would actually apply it to the skin. As well as a cloaking seal inside the tags so they aren't visible even when applied. That took the longest as instead of doing a multi-layer seal for that part, he did a multifactorial array all on one level. This, to Naruto's mind, is what fuinjutsu so complicated. Most people tried for really complex multifactorial seals. Every seal is a collection of arrays, but some have been worked out enough to essentially function as one. No one needs to think about the ignition and combustion parts of an exploding tag, it's been standardized too long for that. But adding an exploding tag array into other arrays means you have to compensate for the various elements, sometimes making certain aspects less efficient so it could coexist with others. Seal masters understand how to get around this issue, but it does take time. Multi-tiered sealing allowed for dedicated arrays to function as they should with the translation happening after the function took place. More people didn't do it, Naruto was told by Jiraiya, because the theory was so underdeveloped and seemed magnitudes harder than the multifactorial method. The second tier would act as the activation trigger, pressure and body temperature with a tracker array so multiple targets could be identified and tagged at the same time. The last tier would be the most experimental of the three. One of the jutsu Naruto learned was the Earth-style, subterranean voyage. He thought incorporating that ability to merge with solid surfaces would do well with his fuin beads, especially once he figured out his information system seals. Once Naruto had drawn out the seals on separate scrolls, Naruto layered them and then performed a series of hand signs. The three individual seals merged into one and then compressed into something new. The compression sealing jutsu was an Uzumaki original and one that they shared with the larger sealing community. Naruto activated his projection seal as he looked at his work and contacted the relevant parties. Spiral 1, 2, and 3, this is Spiral Prime, copy? This is Spiral 1, I copy. Spiral 2 here, I copy. Spiral 3, copy. Activate projection seals and memorize what you see. Big Dog wants them on every exit of Gato's and his army's complex. Over. We applying these to our spare fuin beads? Over. Hi, you are. Spiral Prime over and out. The three shadow clones memorized the details of the tri-level seal, taking a moment to pull it apart. They had orders, but new fuinjutsu was presented to them and they had see what it did. Once they did, each summoned a number of blank fuin beads from the mass storage seal and applied the compressed seal via chakra. Each clone would infuse a little chakra into the beads before tossing them into various door frames and watched as the beads sunk before he was no longer visible. The process should have been harder, but Gado's men were so arrogant they didn't believe anyone would actually attack them, so they had no guards. Gado, however, simply had sent his guards away and was unprotected. It took not even 5 minutes to set up the barriers, and the clones were back to their hiding spots before anyone knew. They settled back and ready to surveil their targets until told otherwise. Back on the pier, the original Naruto had unsealed a cylindrical pillow and propped his head up. He was in need of a nap. He'd been a little keyed up, not that anyone knew, and hadn't slept well. The last seal was taxing on his tired mind, so he thought a nice nap by the water would be justified. He was asleep as soon as he had hit the pillow. Inari went back to the house when he saw Naruto fall asleep. Haku, with Chappie, watched the boy that had thrown her world in such disarray. The boy that so easily made her question much of her reality, her place in Zabuza's life and her very identity. She was confused and wanted a way to dismiss his words. But she would return to his story about the villagers that couldn't face themselves, so they continued to blame him. She didn't want to do that, she wasn't a coward. She was a two. The thought ended abruptly as Haku rubbed her arm where Naruto pinched her. Was she still a tool? Should she had ever been one? Could Zabuza-sama have already achieved his dream had she been better? Or simply more? Something other than a thing in need of orders? If she had her own will, if she were acknowledged as an equal, would Zabuza-sama be more confident? Was his delays her fault? She didn't like those thoughts, hated feeling unsure. Her feet moved toward Naruto. He looked so different asleep. Peaceful and so young. Some part of her wanted to strangle the life out of him for implanting such doubts in her head. She crouched down and debated. He was a bad, evil boy and his master made her betray Zabuza-sama. She had every right to hate them. Even if he knew pain like hers. Even if he had tried to care for her and even made her laugh. But would killing him help Zabuza-sama? Is that enough reason to do it? Did she want to kill this boy? When was the last time she asked herself what she wanted? It had been too long, at least for anything important. She was so tired and confused. Who was she? What was she? Her eyes burned, she wanted to be outside her head. She wanted. She didn't know. She didn't know anything. It scared her, to not know. The future felt open and shrouded. Her exhaustion, physically and emotionally, took over. She settled in beside Naruto. Chappie, and she could hate Naruto after a nap. 12:15 a.m. to Zuna's bridge. Gado's men had arrived, just as they'd been ordered to do. The two ninja weren't fighting, simply talking. This wasn't the plan, they were supposed to exhaust each other first. Some of the men didn't care and believed their numbers would be enough. Others, having heard stories about shinobi, were less confident. All were on edge, their nerves running away from them. One man had an arrow knocked, but his arm was starting to tire. Then, in the background an explosion was heard. It startled the man so much he shot his arrow. The projectile tore through the sky and all took it as the signal, but they waited, hoping the two shinobi would be distracted as well. Maybe the arrow would kill one of them, improving their odds even more. It was hard to track in the night, but many strained their eyes, just to get a glimpse. It neared the two ninja, growing ever closer, and then it struck the ground, 20 feet from either target. I guess you were right, Kakashi. I've got some vermin to slay. Zabuza growled as he unleashed his killing intent. Kakashi simply channeled some chakra to a seal he had wrapped around his wrist. Zabuza was confused when he heard the men yelling and what sounded like numerous collisions. He ran toward the cowards that would dare double-cross him, just to see dozens of men struggling to break apart from each other. They were in a massive dogpile, all shouting to be free. Some had been impaled on their weapons, others injured as they were tossed into another person. The first part of Naruto's trap was an attraction seal. Each seal would be attracted to everyone like it within a certain range, and with such great force, none of the men could fight it. Kakashi soon tired of their shouts of pain and distress, deciding to activate level 2. Soon, the bridge and the surrounding areas were quiet as Naruto's knockout array worked perfectly. This ended just how Kakashi liked, with bare minimum effort so he could still look cool. Zabuza could only summarize his current state in one way. What the fuck just happened? Elsewhere, Gato was terrified. He couldn't even bluster nor beg, his mind wouldn't form the words. His bodyguards and he were on their way to his ship, cash in tow. 20 feet from the ship's dock, they watched as it exploded. Then, from the darkness these metal things flew and pierced Waraji and Zori in their arms and legs. The men were down, but their cries of pain were silenced when a swift kick to each of their heads. When Gato saw who prevented his escape, he realized it was a mere child. He was set to yell at the little punk because a chop to the back of his neck ended it. Moments later, he was tied up with his men, who had been thoroughly disarmed, and they were being drugged like carcasses. It was over, he knew it. No amount of begging would save him. If his men found out he was going to abandon them, they'd turn on him as well. His life was over. At Tezuna's, Sakura, Naruto, and Haku watched as 10 men were knocked out in a ball of human flesh. Sakura was amazed at the seal, having been given the controls. Haku, too, was impressed and wondered what the blonde's limits were. She was also thankful he seemed to prefer no lethal means, as she may be far worse off than she was. Naruto marveled at the tea. It was really good tea. He made note to ask Tsunami-san about it. Some might be surprised by his focus, but truthfully, seals were easy. Good tea, now that's hard. It wouldn't be morning until Tezuna and his family were informed Gato had been captured. Inari would round up the villagers, all willing to dispense justice on the tyrant. The danger had been neutralized, but Team 7 had to wait for the bridge to be finished. None seemed to mind. It may be boring from that point on, but how many people could say they managed to liberate a country in 2 days? Kakashi was pleased with the actions of his team, though Sasuke choosing to fight instead of using the seal was a little worrying. He knew before he took the mission he was going to keep them, but this made him all the more confident in his decision. And best of all, the thing that stood out the most? Chibi got an enemy kunoichi to snuggle with him. He truly was the one. Team 7+1 stood inside the Hokage's office as the leader of Konoha read over Kakashi's report. The man's face was impassive, not giving one hint at what he may be thinking. Once he finished the scroll, he sat it down and steepled his fingers, looking at the lone jounin. Kakashi met his gaze. The copy ninja appeared more visibly resolute than he normally did, his own lackadaisical manner shelved for the moment. Is all of this true, Kakashi? Hi. Well done, Team 7. You are no longer provisional, but full ninja of Konoha, congratulations. If you and Haku-san will excuse us, I'd like to have a word with Kakashi. As the team headed toward the door, the Sandame stopped them. Oh, Naruto-kun? Yes, Aji-san? This startled the other members of Team 7. They'd heard Naruto speak about his Aji-san, but never had he referred to the Hokage as such in their presence, nor given any hint that's who he was speaking of this entire time. Saikuen and the regular escort will be on Training Ground 23 at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Hi. The team departed after that, Kakashi already informing them they would have 2 days off from training and missions. As they left, both the Sandame and Kakashi saw Sasuke's reaction, a glint of suspicion that Naruto was receiving something the Uchiha hadn't. It didn't portend for great things in the immediate future, but that would have to wait for now. Kakashi, what were you thinking? You should have either cancelled or immediately called for backup as soon as those missing ninja attacked. I truly believed I could handle any unforeseen risks that would arise. Yes, but you didn't handle it. Tell me, if you didn't have a seal master on your team, how do you think this would have played out? I would have had to fight Zabuza as we entered wave. Maybe I win, but with my concern for my students I couldn't go all out, and if his apprentice had attacked with him I could have been overwhelmed. Yes, this Haku person. She seems close to Naruto-kun and this doesn't seem to bother you. Those two grew closer during the mission. I made sure to watch them, Hokage-sama. She's not a threat, just a young woman trying to figure herself out. They did spend a lot of time together because for whatever reason they understand each other. And after years of being with Zabuza, he goes to Kiri, but she comes here? She's not a killer. Zabuza knew it, I can see it. I suspect even you can pick up on that. I will allow this for now, but if this is some trick by Zabuza or Naruto-kun gets hurt, all responsible will know my displeasure. Kakashi's expression didn't change, but he shivered at the thought of the Sandame's displeasure being expressed. It generally included fire. Lots of fire. How a lifetime smoker could have that great of lung capacity defied logic. I'm confident the last thing she wants is to harm Naruto. Sir, I wouldn't put Minato-sensei's son at risk. Yes, from the report I can tell. What really made you call the clone off? Kakashi sighed before answering, I know each of my students will have to take a life eventually, but heat of combat and an assassination are different. They feel different and there is generally a reason the former happens before the latter. I don't know how Naruto would handle it and I think that's the main reason. I couldn't be sure he wouldn't be overwhelmed. I understand, Kakashi. The instinct to not throw them into the deep end is understandable, but situations change and you may not always have that choice. With all that being said, this was well done. I'll likely have Shikaku add this to the Chunin seminars in the usage of basic techniques and advanced tactics. Yes, you trained Naruto well. Kakashi said with a hint of accusation. I have done almost nothing in terms of direct training of Naruto-kun. Hints? Stories or suggestions? Yes. But little beyond that. Why, what's the problem? My team is unbalanced. Gravely unbalanced. C-ranks are supposed to push the team, but with Naruto, his ceiling abilities, and his mentality, they change things. If I allow him to operate at his full capacity, I sideline Sasuke and Sakura. If I hold Naruto back, the other two will get more direct experience, but are also at greater, unnecessary risk. The question becomes, who do I stunt? I want my team to grow, but I truly underestimated how prodigious Naruto was. That seal he created to tag Gato's men, he finished it in an hour. I saw that. I will have to see about incorporating that into our entrances. Good way to stop infiltrators. I do see your point, Kakashi. The next C rank you wish to take, I'll have Naruto be unavailable and we can go from there. Kakashi nodded and was dismissed. Hiruzen thought about his grandson. It seemed the boy demonstrated his genius over the sealing arts, ran deeper than any imagined on a regular occurrence. Well, great, Kakashi was right. Genin weren't meant to be masters over any shinobi art, not even prodigies could claim mastery. Hiruzen reasoned he might have to push Kakashi to enter his team into the upcoming Chunin exams. They were still a few months away, but Naruto-kun wasn't a genin. The old man started running through plans, ways to ensure Naruto could be promoted, justly. He'd arrange for Danzo's agent to be more available. The boys really pushed each other and Hiruzen would look the other way as Danzo supplied Naruto-kun with more ninjutsu. He'd also have Jiraiya start to really put him through the ringer. Naruto-kun had done well training himself, but it was time to find and surpass his limits. He'd even increase the shadow clone limit. This, of course, would only further the gap between him and his teammates, but it was necessary. He didn't want to push his grandson too hard. Like Kakashi, he wanted to ease the boy into the lifestyle. But like Kakashi, he was trying to fight against an unstoppable wave. Naruto-kun wasn't someone that could stay hidden. His conversation with the daimyo and Madame Shirjimi made that clear. The Chunin exams, they wouldn't be able to hide him after that. Haku and Naruto walked through the village. She discreetly observed the villagers and could see many did seem uncomfortable when they laid eyes on her friend. She thought it such a waste, what they were missing out on by keeping him at arm's length. She'd come to truly appreciate his presence as she was dealing with her developing sense of self and her relationship with Zabuza-sama. That she could sit in complete silence with him and not feel uncomfortable nor pressured to speak was a comfort. He never judged her, never demanded anything from her. It was welcomed. He even let her cry on his shoulder when she and Zabuza-sama agreed to part company. Her master had finally come clean, his delay in going back to Kiri being due to the humiliation of his defeat. How she had become his excuse, her unwillingness to kill a sign she wasn't ready. He'd used her as a way to not face himself and she'd done the same. It was a difficult discussion, but the first one they'd had as more than master and servant. He decided to return to his home, to fight for it whatever the state of the rebellion was in. It was reflexive, her desire to go with him, but there was another part of her that wanted something different. That wanted to learn more about herself and not be on the run or in the middle of a war. To her shock, Zabuza-sama understood and gave his blessing. That was a week after Gato's fall. After that, she spent more and more time with Naruto when he wasn't on duty. They'd train together, sit on the dock or walk around Nami. When she revealed her bloodline limit, Naruto was fascinated by it. So much so, he stayed up all night working on something, even summoning a small toad for help. The next day he showed her his work, having her channel some Hayaton chakra through a seal. The result? Shaved ice. What he had requested from the toad. Various fruits that could be made into syrups. They spent the day giving snow cones to the children. She found it endearing that his first thoughts weren't battle applications, but a way to make people happy, even if it were just momentary. Haku? She replied, having been lost in thought she'd simply followed Naruto without paying much attention. We're here, your room is next to mine. She didn't quite understand what he meant by that as she assumed she'd stay with him for the short term, until she got on her feet. As they climbed the stairs, they stopped at a plain-looking door. You have to channel chakra through the doorknob, Naruto said. Haku did, and she watched an intricate seal appear on the door for a brief moment before the door unlocked and she walked through. The apartment was cozy, the living room had a blue couch and matching chair. A dark oak coffee table and television stand. There was a small kitchen table in between the living room space and the kitchenette. She walked toward one of the doors and saw it was a bedroom, the bed adorned with chocolate brown sheets and one nightstand. Chappie even had his own bed, as he was peacefully napping. She walked toward the closet and saw it full of women's clothes and shoes, all her size. The Yuki clanswoman was confused. And Naruto, where are your things? And did you do this? For me? Next door, this is your apartment. I had Gamakichi request Ino-chan's help, so she picked all of that out. Arodana put up the security seals. Remember when I had you channel chakra into that seal on our way here? It was so the security would recognize you as its primary users. Haku rushed over to the boy and hugged him. Thank you, Naruto. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. You don't have to. I own the building now, besides you're my friend. He said, as if that explained the entire world. She almost wanted to cry, having her own space to do with as she pleased. To have a home, it was almost overwhelming. Naruto simply hugged her back, not truly getting the significance of his gesture. She needed a place to stay, would likely want or need new clothes, so he took care of it. It was Arodana that recommended he buy his building. The building wasn't in his name, but that of his company, Uzunami. It even had a sealing subsidiary named Vortex Seals. It was an attempt to keep Naruto anonymous and keep any inquiring minds from investigating why a 12-year-old orphan was becoming obscenely wealthy in such a short time. It also helped hide the transfer of his inheritance and the IP of his parents' seals to Naruto. Due to that, allowing Haku a room for however long she needed it simply wasn't a burden. Haku soon released the hug, wiping the unshed tears from her eyes. Naruto started for the door, but not before asking if she were up for meeting some of his friends later. She agreed and Naruto exited, only to see Arodana standing at his door. Arodana, he said and saw the sage lower his head. Gaki, you have to stop calling me that. But you said you were a super pervert in your introduction. Granted, but still, how am I going to get some ladies if you keep calling master pervert? Jiraiya watched Naruto stroke his chin. Were you getting ladies before I started calling you that? Why, you little brat, he exclaimed with no real heat, and Naruto cracked a small smile at his godfather's antics. He found the man amusing. I'm here on a mission, Gaki. Someone has some seal work I've never been able to decipher. I want you to check it out, and on the way you can tell me about your first C rank and this enemy Kunoichi you romanced. Romanced? I didn't romance anyone. I think you'd do better with women if you knew what romance meant, Jiraiya. Naruto spoke in response, looking at Jiraiya in mild confusion. I wrote the book on shinobi romance. Your female characters are underdeveloped. I swear, everyone's a critic. Jiraiya said in defeat as the two left the complex. Jiraiya led Naruto to a secure ANBU facility and guided the boy through the series of tunnels until they arrived at a sealing chamber. Jiraiya walked in, Naruto right behind with Anko sitting on a hospital bed. She was clearly surprised to see Naruto. "What's the half-pint doing here, Jiraiya-sama? I don't want some amateur looking at my seal." "Relax, Anko. Naruto is a certified seal master, the one sensei was telling you about." "The one that invented this," she said, holding up her wrist to show the Fuin bracelet. "One and the same. Also, that is a secret, so please don't spread it around." Anko didn't seem sure. She knew Jiraiya wouldn't mess with her, not about this, but it was difficult to believe a newly minted genin could do something a Sannin hadn't managed. However, beyond her misgivings, she was desperate to be free of the seal, and if the kid could help even slightly, it would be worth it. "Okay, Blondie, let's see what you can do." Naruto nodded and then approached. He performed a series of hand signs and then activated his projection screen as he watched the seal decompress. To Anko, it looked as if he were staring off into space, but Jiraiya had seen him assembly and disassembly seals through his projection to know the boy was already at work. Naruto checked over the elements of the seal multiple times. It was a pretty complicated seal, and one of the reasons it was so hard to move, besides having a decent enough compression array, was it immediately grafted itself onto the chakra network. But that wasn't impossible to get around. It was the other elements that had Naruto confused, so when he muttered, "That's not right," he had the two adults in the room interested in what the Uzumaki was seeing. If they'd asked, Naruto would have told them. The seal had a stored consciousness within it as well as another type of energy that Naruto didn't immediately recognize as chakra. It had limiters placed within the seal to handle aggression as well as muscle activity. As if there was an expected increase in strength the body couldn't fully handle and would break down if it weren't capped in some way. There were some other things in here as well, such as a mild enhancement to one's healing rate and improvements to reaction time and awareness. However, Naruto came back to the limiters and control. Nothing within the seal could account for why they would be necessary or how that other energy was tapped into. There was no array that led to it, but he could tell the seal was meant to respond to it. It was a puzzle and Naruto wasn't happy. The blonde could feel he was missing something obvious, making an erroneous assumption, but he couldn't see what it was. It wasn't located in the seal, he'd been thorough in his analysis. While the seal was triggered by the inflicted chakra system, it only activated it, the seal was wholly complete as is. If it wasn't the seal itself, maybe it was the application. "Anko-chan, how was the seal applied to you?" "I was bitten," she spat. That surprised Naruto, he'd never heard of a seal being applied from the mouth. He started thinking of why that would be. Seals materialized via chakra are generally done so by the hand, could the bite be significant, Naruto wondered. He activated his diagnostic jutsu on the seal, having up to this point assumed it was either ink or chakra-based. The diagnostic jutsu showed something else, it was a hybrid seal of chakra and some type of organic compound, one that must react to the stored energy. Naruto was dismayed at the idiocy of the seal. Organic compounds, enzymatic or otherwise, that can react and interact with chakra weren't new, chakra poisonous wouldn't exist if they were. However, there is a reason chakra is comprised of yin and yang, enzymes can destabilize chakra and the subsequent reactions essentially override the intentional aspects of human chakra. The control people have is gone, given over to a purely natural reaction, be it a corrosion of the chakra network or whatever the seal sought to do. Before Naruto could undo the seal, he'd need to find a way to neutralize the enzyme, but he'd have to identify the type of energy contained in the chakra first. He didn't know, but he hoped Jiraiya might. He called the Toad Sage over and gave him access to his projections, both the seals and the chemical breakdown of the sealing material. Jiraiya looked it all over before letting out a string of curses. Naruto waited for Jiraiya to finish, but Anko looked nervous, something Jiraiya picked up on. "Sorry, Anko, didn't mean to worry you." That idiot tried to make a sage mode seal, one that could incorporate senjutsu into whoever was marked. That wouldn't work, the enzyme is volatile to the energy, and due to the effects it leaves the host unable to regulate it as well. Naruto said. Exactly. He must have dabbled with senjutsu but never in any significant way, if I had to guess whatever he managed to include in the seals wasn't perfectly balanced, which would only make things worse. What does that mean? Can you not remove it after all? Anko said in a slight panic. If I can find a way to neutralize or even momentarily stabilize the enzyme I can remove the seal. Naruto answered to a pair of wide eyes. What? Gaki, you know a way to remove it? With the stipulation I put forward, I believe I do, yes. But I can't give a timetable. I don't want to give you false hope, Enko-chan. You haven't. I think we should get out of here and get to work, don't want to leave a pretty lady in distress. Jiraiya said. I will get to work, but I'd be just as committed if you weren't beautiful, Enko-chan. I find that very reassuring, Blondie. Enko said with a laugh and watched as the pair departed. She understands the boy tried not to give her false hope, but it was hard not to imagine a future free of her seal, free of her past, free of Orochimaru. Naruto's mind was busy making plans as he exited the building with Jiraiya. He was going to have to shelf some of his projects until he figured this out. He summoned 20 clones to go to the hospital's labs to get to work on finding a counter to the enzyme. It also occurred to him that Jiraiya knew about the senjutsu energy being utilized and may have a solution. He asked and Jiraiya grimaced. I may, but I can't promise anything. Your best bet would be to continue down the path you're on. If you really can't come up with anything, I'll see what I can do. Why wait? If your way doesn't work, that's one thing, but why leave it as a last resort? I don't understand. It's complicated, Naruto. Just work on your end of things, get Tsunade and Shizune to help if you can. You're being elusive for no reason and delaying helping someone that needs it. If your reasons are as good as you say, you just tell me. Naruto, I know this isn't easy, but just have faith. Jiraiya requested before leaving via Shunshin. Naruto had a small frown on his face, not believing this was entirely about Enko-chan's seal. Whatever it was, the Uzumaki didn't think it was worth the delay to free a fellow comrade. He put it out of his mind for now, he wanted to get some sleep before his plans for the night. Several hours later, Naruto and Haku were making their way to the Hyuga compound. Naruto was wearing a blue, V-neck shirt, black pants, and blue sandals. Haku was in an aquamarine floral print kimono with black, low-heel sandals. The two were chatting, Naruto telling her a little more about Hinata and the Hyuga when they saw Ino just ahead of them, looking quite pained. The two increased their pace to catch up to the Yamanaka heiress. Ino-chan, what's wrong? Naruto asked. Asuma-sensei has increased the intensity of our training, she replied, though straining a little. Oh, I thought you said he was lazy, how did you convince him to train you more? The Yamanaka blushed to Naruto's confusion. She really didn't want to share that particular story as it wasn't an exact highlight of her career. Asuma-sensei, you need to train us better. We're the weakest team of our graduating class. Ino nearly shouted, frustrated at Asuma's intransigence. She'd requested an increase in their training before, but he'd always just waved her off. Ino, you're just a genin. I want to ease you guys into this lifestyle, not have you burn out. What's the rush? The rush? The rush is I will not lose my virginity to Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki because I was too weak to stand up to that little psycho. Ino panted out and then blushed. She went on to inform her team about what transpired and why she wanted to be stronger. Asuma, seeing this as a way to deny the Uzumaki a threesome, agreed. Naruto, aren't you going to introduce me to your guest? Ino said as a diversion. Oh, Yamanaka Ino-chan, this is Yuki Haku. It's nice to meet you, Ino-san, I understand I have you to thank for my wardrobe. Nice to meet you as well, and I'm glad you like it. It's not every day a toad with a wad of cash asks you to go shopping. Well, you have excellent tastes, so I appreciate it. We're going to be great friends, Haku-san, I just know it. The now trio walked the rest of the way and was granted immediate entrance into the compound. As they followed their escort, they ran into the clan head, and Hinata's father, Hayashi. Ino and Haku bowed and offered polite greetings. Naruto did not. Good evening, Hyuga Hayashi-san. Hayashi wanted to roll his eyes at the boy, how he managed to be formal like Minato and yet still give less than a shit about titles like Kushina was impressive. Some part of him wondered if he did it on purpose, but his face was as unreadable as any Hyuga. He felt he owed a debt to the Uzumaki for helping Hinata shed herself of her debilitating shyness, though the effects he's had on Hanabi have been less desirable. I will defeat you today, Uzumaki, speaking of. Hayashi just sighed, his little girl used to be so dignified. Hanabi, that is not how we greet guests in this house. She rolled her eyes. His little girl rolled her eyes. Greetings to you all, even you Uzumaki team. Hanabi. Hinata exclaimed from behind her father and sister both. She won't always be here to protect you, Hanabi said and left in a huff. Naruto, what did you do to her? Ino asked. I beat her in a staring contest. Seeing the look of disbelief on their faces, Naruto just shrugged. He didn't exactly understand it either. Come this way, dinner will be served soon, Hinata said, and Hayashi watched as the young ninja went into a small dining room. He left them alone, instead choosing to talk to Hanabi about her crass behavior. The foursome settled in and shared dinner while exchanging stories. Ino and Hinata were both curious about Naruto's C rank, neither having been assigned one yet. Naruto relayed the details but made sure to include impressions and other things to make it more interesting, as several books on communication had suggested. He ended his story by focusing on the daughter and grandson of the client. So, she put together a picnic basket for Haku and I. And she hugged me a lot. She was really weird, Naruto concluded, to snickering from all the girls in the room. What? Naruto-kun, she was being motherly, and from what you said about Inari following you, she likely did so because her son found you so interesting. That was motherly? He got a trio of head nods. I guess it wasn't too bad. So, Haku, what are your plans? Ino asked. I honestly don't know. I haven't been able to be safe in one place for so long, I never imagined what I'd do if I did. I want to keep my skills sharp, but I don't know if I want to be a ninja. Without clan affiliation, that might be difficult. What about a reservist? You get the status, but you won't have to actively go on missions unless you want to. Ino suggested, and Haku smiled. That might work. I'll just need to find a job and then I'll be set. You can work with me, Haku, Naruto offered. He did need employees, after all. If I did, would you teach me fuinjutsu? Naruto held out his hand. I believe we have an accord. No, fair, Naruto-kun. You never offered to teach me fuinjutsu. Ino whined, only semi-joking. She'd come to know how good Naruto was at the art of sealing and wouldn't mind a few tips. The cold glare from Hinata warned her she may have pushed it too far. You never asked, Ino-chan. Naruto observed, wondering if Ino had a problem with voicing her desires, as she seemed to expect him to know she wanted things without ever saying it. She's just joking, Naruto-kun. Besides, with her extra training to protect your maidenhood, she wouldn't have the time. Ino gaped. How did the little psycho know that? The smile Hinata gave her, akin to the cat that eyed the canary, made her uneasy. She did, eventually, relax, and the rest of the evening went by without incident. Haku and Naruto departed first, thanking Hinata for hosting and bidding Ino and she good night. It was only Ino and Hinata left, and both girls felt the need to clear the air. Ino-chan, I'm not some crazed lunatic. I don't enjoy intimidating you, but Naruto-kun is my best friend and has helped me in ways I can never repay. When you complain about things he hasn't given you, it makes him think he missed something a normal person would have noticed. I won't let you make me think poorly of himself. Ino sighed. She really hadn't considered how her teasing would be interpreted by Naruto. She had come to genuinely like him and had gotten used to how he was, to the point she'd sometimes forget he could be hurt by her being insensitive. You're right. I do consider Naruto a friend, and I think we can be as well if you stop scaring the hell out of me. I can try, Ino, but it won't work if you think poorly of me. You mean the psych dash? Like, why do you think I'd share your first time? Hinata giggled as she walked back into the compound, Ino staring in horror at the gates, before cracking a smile. It appeared while she may not be able to tease Naruto just yet, the Hyuga was down to play. She smiled all the way home at the prospect of having another female friend, not really having one since Sakura, and she fell out. Tenzo overlooked his charges as they were engaged in a fearsome battle. It made the longtime ANBU agent smile, recalling his early days of hard training with his peers, pushing each other to be better. The boys' sessions had become increasingly intense, but there was an undercurrent of trust. They never injured each other in any significant way, so them pushing their limits together was fine. It was difficult to accurately judge Sai's full skill set as he was trained by Danzo-sama, but he could tell Naruto was growing by leaps and bounds, even with his resistance seal still active. The boys were exchange fists with fluid movement. One would strike, the other would parry and counter-strike, only for that to be dodged. Time and time again, it was a ballet of violence. However, Sai managed to sneak in a right hook that sent Naruto tumbling back. The root wasted no time in pursuing his target, but Naruto was not as open as Sai had expected. Sai leapt in with a kick, which Naruto avoided. Sai landed and pivoted, unleashing a roundhouse. Naruto narrowly dodged the attack and the follow-up roundhouse, retaliating with a spin kick of his own. Sai was hit on the chin and sent flying. Naruto came in with a flying stomp, but Sai rolled out of the way, retrieving a kunai as he did. He rushed back in and the exchange of hands continued. Sai came in with an overhead stab. Naruto used his opposite hand to perform a slap block on Sai's wrist, causing Sai's grip to loosen. Naruto slid his hand up and swatted the kunai into the air, continuing his offense by punching at Sai 3 times. The 2 palm strikes landed, the third was interrupted when Sai kicked Naruto away and smoothly caught his kunai. Not stopping his motion, Sai performed a leg sweep, taking Naruto off his feet. The Uzumaki didn't rest, predicting another attack. He performed a handstand and spun away from Sai's offensive, coming to his feet and having taken out his own kunai from his leg holster. The boys were engaging again, sparks from where their kunai met visibly to any that watched. In a moment of improvisation, Naruto jumped at Sai, placing both hands on his shoulders while perform a handstand and continuing to flip over the root ninja. He landed behind Sai and mule kicked him. Sai tumbled forward but was able to meet Naruto's charge and toss the blonde on the ground. Naruto responded with a kick to Sai's midsection and to back him off, giving Naruto a chance to attack some more. Sai, mimicking Naruto, performed a side flip over the charging blonde and hit Naruto in the face when he turned to face Sai. Naruto returned with a jumping front kick, clipping Sai in the chin and then performed a series of hand signs, unleashing a wind-style, great breakthrough jutsu. Sai dodged the attack and closed the distance between Naruto and he, hitting Naruto in the solar plexus. Following with a kick to the midsection and ending with his kunai pointed at his downed opponent. Naruto looked up and nodded at Sai, acknowledgement of his defeat, and the root ninja helped up his friend. The two made the seal of reconciliation and then flopped on the ground. Do they normally go that hard? Kakashi asked as he sat beside Tenzo, eye on his book, but Tenzo knew his senpai had seen every second of the spar. It's been escalating as Naruto has improved. Are you concerned? About Naruto's safety? No, you wouldn't be here unless Sandaime-sama ordered it, so I trust he isn't in any danger. But he is much better at direct combat than I thought. Kakashi mused. He knew Naruto was physically superior to his teammates, but he still assumed Sasuke had the technical advantage. It appeared that was no longer the case. Just more evidence his team was unbalanced. So, what will they do now? It depends. Sometimes it is ninjutsu training, sometimes it devolves into a book club and other times they work on their respective art. As Tenzo was answering, he sensed a presence approaching. While quiet, said person was not quiet enough to avoid ANBU detection. He saw it was a long-haired young woman, mid-teens at the oldest, holding a snow rabbit. She had on a dark blue shirt and skirt to match. Good morning, Naruto. And Sai, I presume? Good morning, Haku. Hello, Haku-san. Naruto spoke of you briefly, but you are not what I expected. Sai said. Oh, I hope I haven't disappointed. No, not disappointed. It's just, with Hinata-san, Shizune-san, and Tsunade-sama I assumed Naruto preferred his women bustier. Haku showed no hesitation in throwing several senbon at Sai. Most hitting his legs and making the root ninja collapse. Haku wore a frown, but it was undercut by her light blush. I guess that was something I shouldn't have said. Sai concluded and saw Naruto nod in agreement. Besides, I like Haku's breasts. Haku's blushed increase and Naruto would swear he heard stifled laughs coming from the trees. He just ignored it, carefully moving the senbon from Sai and hoping this wouldn't become a repeat occurrence. This was all for now. Hope you liked it. Please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more great stories. See ya.